fans. Hey, there's 87 days and 12 hours until Christmas 2021. Oh, and today I've got a special guest who's going to be joining us in just one moment. But before we get there, let me just give you all some updates on the channel. Many of you are already aware of these things. Hey, we've got some big giveaways planned for 2021 for our channel members. We have 3 levels of memberships here. The first level, the Blizzard Battalion, those are just $2 a month. You'll be eligible for a vintage collection, a Hasbro vintage collection figure giveaway. We do those every month. Already we had our winner for September. Here in a couple weeks, we'll have a giveaway for October. And if you're a Blizzard Battalion member, you'll be eligible for that vintage collection figure giveaway. And then for our mid-tier level, those are Snowpack. That's just $5 a month. You'll be eligible for not only the vintage collection figure giveaway, but we do a monthly Black Series figure giveaway. And again, just in a couple weeks, we'll be giving away a Hasbro Black Series figure. Those are the 6-inch posable figures that are released in the Star Wars line. We will be giving away one of those in just a couple weeks. And our Snowpack members are eligible for the vintage collection and the Black Series figures giveaways. And then our Elite Squad members. Oh, our Elite Squad members, that's our top tier at $10 a month. Those folks are eligible for all of our giveaways, the vintage collection as well as the Black Series. And this last month, both of our winners were Elite Squad members. Oh, congratulations. And we'll be doing that again in just a couple weeks. But in 2022, we've already ordered some premier figures for giveaway for our Elite Squad members. Those are items that are like in $100 range or more. And so next January, we're going to be giving away one of those SH Figure Arts. They're 6-inch, the Black Series scale, but they're $100 figures. And we're going to be giving away the Boba Fett from The Mandalorian. So you're going to get that Boba Fett repaint Mandalorian figure for January. And then late next year, we're going to be giving away a Hot Toy figure, one of those Sideshow collectibles. But this case, we're going to give away Boba Fett on Jabba the Hutt's throne, the one that you saw there at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. And of course, we'll have the Book of Boba Fett coming on. And then we're going to give away that Boba Fett as well as the throne. And we'll also give away the Fennec Shand as a part of that. All in all, that'll be around $700 of value for anybody who is an Elite Squad member for at least 6 months when those are released. So we have, let me just, we'll get you next week. I got to type and think. And Magic Maker is my co-host typically on Tuesdays, but he had a work emergency come up. But so we have a super special guest today. We've got one of my good friends, Jason Ward from Making Star Wars. Hello, Jason.
Today I'm the Magic Man.
There you go. And this is a really, I think, fortunate time. We just saw that Andor has wrapped up filming, and so yesterday Diego Luna said, hey, we've wrapped filming. Of course that means it's going to post-production and all of that. And our friend oh my goodness, I've fallen behind on the chat, but Star Wars Meg has already shared that early the first half of 2022 we'll be getting the Andor series and the Kenobi series. So we've got a few more months for them to do the post-production. But part of that that Diego Luna said is there are going to be some familiar faces. So that leads us to speculation, rumors, leaks, and all of that. And I'm thrilled to death that you were able to jump into the stream. What have you heard, or what do you think that some of those familiar faces could be?
Well, like up front, it wrapped a while ago now. I mean, weeks ago now, and it's just Diego Luna saying it. Like, I had it, and Bespin Bulletin had that it was done like maybe a month ago. It feels like now. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like it's been about a month because it wrapped right around Kenobi, right before Kenobi. And I
Oh,
think Bespin Bulletin may have actually had it first, but I can't
yeah,
remember. But let's just say it was him, as I like him.
sure.
And and,
Yeah.
yeah, and so it's been done for a bit. And then in terms of like cameos and to go back to our conversation on that, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's like I think we're gonna get like all of the mainstays, and I think it's sort of obvious to some extent. Like that will, I can't imagine Bella Organa's not in it. Like
Right.
I just
Yeah.
have a hard time with that Rogue One setting, and Bell Organa shows up in that movie, and he's such a big player in it. And we do have Mon Mothma, which is like confirmed.
Oh, I don't know that I heard Mon Mothma was confirmed. I did hear some rumors, but I hadn't heard it that firm.
Well, I either it's confirmed or I just gave you a scoop because I've
Oh,
seen her in it. So I'm pretty sure it's confirmed. I think it is confirmed, but
that's great. And
yeah.
yeah, yesterday we were speculating about some of the folks we're going to see in the Kenobi series,
Hmm.
and it's possible that that you mentioned Bail Organa, right? But
Hmm.
it's possible we could get Bail in Kenobi as well. I would think. Um,
Even more
it,
so, I would think.
that was my thought. Like if we had Bail Organa, then you could have the possibility of and there's been lots of rumors of casting for 10-year-old Luke and 10-year-old Leia, right?
Yeah.
So it would make sense in Kenobi, but Andor, if we got a Bail Organa,
Hmm.
um, might it also include a cameo of Leia or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that is not even like really that's not even like really in question. I've seen the casting spec sheets for it, and those went out a long time ago. Like not doing a Star Wars reference there either. A long time ago. They they were out there and floating around that they were trying to find the children who were going to play Luke and Leia.
Right.
And on a side note, around that same time too, also bundled in the same search were children for Cassian, who I think is Cassian and his sister potentially
Oh,
as children. They were looking up. They were kind of doing a double. Hey, this person doesn't fit for this, but might fit for that. Because I think when you have really young Latino children, they can look like a dark-haired Princess Leia when they're 5. Like if they're really like fair-skinned, if they're Spanish,
all
stuff
right,
like
right.
that. And
Yeah.
so I think there was like a little bit of a let's see what happens here with that kind of stuff, and also just seeing a bunch of children for those roles. But as far as I know, they filled four parts: Luke, Leia, and Cassian, and who I assume is Cassian's sister or his Kira, if you will. I'm not sure, how you want to take it, but
I,
if that makes sense.
yeah, it does make sense. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And it's pretty exciting. Meg has confirmed Bale is in it. She's confirmed that, which is great news. It leads us to that speculation of maybe Leia showing up, but
Yeah.
I wondered if we might get it. And I think maybe Meg was hinting at it in her video without getting directly to it. Might we see Jabba the Hutt again? Uh,
Right. Well, Meg did say that there was a Jabba prop, a
yes.
prosthetic tail or something like that that was probably for a Hut and probably Jabba. In a way, though, on that one, I could kind of see them not doing Jabba and doing a different Hut because
Yep.
it could be a difficult match to remake. I mean, they've always had a hard time replicating him, but
Well, yeah, but maybe they have those original molds and they're able to get that.
And do you think that if they made that tale, do you think it implies it is there's actually the puppet, or is that like a stand-in where the CGI is going to be, so this is a do not walk area, you would be intersecting with a CGI critter, kind
Well,
of
that's a
thing.
good point. I hope that I'm not confident that a CGI Jabba the Hutt, like a fully CGI Jabba, would
Hmm.
come off well. So hopefully they would do the full puppet. But
Yeah.
that's a really good question. Um, so Bail Organa confirmed, Mon Mothma. That's been it. Maybe we had a scoop right here, right? Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, Jabba the Hutt. Those are all fantastic references. And again, maybe speculation on Leia. Would there be the possibility of seeing Force users? We haven't talked about a lot of Force users in Andor, of course, in Kenobi, but what about Andor?
Well, you know what? I mean, this is kind of sidestepping what you're saying, but also tying into it if we consider like Maz Kanata, because there has been Maz Kanata and Andor. That one on the surface seems to make sense because I've seen Andor sets and pieces of stuff that was built inside of Pinewood, and it looks so much like Maz Kanata's castle. And that's where I'm like, is Maz Kanata tied into this? Like, and wasn't Maz Kanata rumored for something else?
She has been rumored, and I don't want. My memory isn't real fresh on where I
Okay.
had the conversation, if it was on a stream or it off
Okay.
with
Yeah.
some individuals. But yeah, Maz Kanata. Well, I don't know about Maz Kanata herself, but
Yeah.
certainly her castle was something that I've discussed with some folks behind the scenes. So,
Yeah, because I've actually seen set pieces that I believe like are so close. It either totally is that, or it's like, why isn't it that?
right. So
You know?
Takadana, as far as a location, it did show up in the prequels. They talked about going to Takadana, or I mean, in the High Republic novels.
Hmm.
So they are tying it through the entire time frame. If it's in the High Republic, and Maz is in scope there because she's got this really long life, right? Um, so if she exists from the High Republic era through the sequel era, then she could absolutely be in Andor. She
Hmm.
could be in Kenobi. She could be in Book of Boba Fett, as Meg put here. Maz is for the Book of Boba Fett. So
Yeah, yeah, and that's where I'm tripping out because it looks like the stuff just looks so much like it for Cassian.
oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's You know, I heard a rumor a long time ago. Now this was completely just fan stuff.
Hmm.
That Maz Kanata, for a time, she's about the right height that she could have been a Jawa, and or disguised as a Jawa, right, in the robes and all of that, and that she has actually been in all of the movies, going back to the prequel or the original trilogy.
Man, I don't know, man. She dates dudes like Chewbacca. I don't see her putting on Jawa robes. But I mean, in terms of Maz herself, like they sort of like, if it was a role playing game, when they gave her like spec sheet about who she is and her background, they
Yeah,
really kind of overdid it a little bit and under delivered on her.
yeah,
But she's CGI. Lupita Nyong'o was super hot a few years ago. I don't know if she still is. I haven't really heard much about her, and films and stuff like that. So it's like, why isn't Maz Kanata kind of tying all this stuff together to some extent? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
as sort of a mainstay through it all. Because like I'm still surprised she wasn't in Solo: A Star Wars Story, because she was supposed to be this character throughout Han's life, and then not in there either, and that was strange. But
exactly.
yeah,
Nikki asked, can anybody speculate on the story? So for Andor, we have heard several rumors about sets. We've heard rumors about cameos and characters, but the story itself, how much do we know about the story of the series?
not a lot at all.
Yeah.
Not, and I have acquaintances and friends who work on it, and it sounds like it is going to be. I don't know how to put it. It's not a very simple one to just to throw out there and go, yeah, he's really mad and he wants revenge, because
Well,
there's
right.
it's not that kind of tale. And yeah, so, and then a few of the times, like sometimes when I talk to a source, they're down to like just tell me everything. They just don't care. And other times they're like, oh, I don't want to ruin it all, but like here's this or here's that. And it seems to be one of those ones where like if you tell me something from episode 5, it kind of tears down a lot of the walls of secrecy about the whole thing. So and the stuff that I have heard, I haven't really been able to talk very much about.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping though, as we move away from it, that opens up.
Oh,
if that
good.
makes sense.
Yeah, good. Well, like we know Book of Boba Fett is supposed to be like his hit list, right? So we have a kind of a concept of what's going on with Book of Boba Fett, and with some of the cameos that have been already revealed. Like, okay, we can clearly see sort of what the story is about. We don't know the direct lines, but we do know the kind of the overarching part of it. For Kenobi, you can kind of assume certain things. Hearing about the Inquisitors, for example, and knowing that they've got Hayden involved to do some Anakin stuff, and Palpatine, right? Maybe we'll see Ian McDermott in Kenobi, right? Mm-hmm. So if all of those things are happening, you kind of have a concept of what's going on. With Andor, I'm a lot more in the dark. And Meg did say something before about all she was going to say. Let me go back up here and find her comment.
Spill it, Meg. Come on.
She said she's not going. She said she wasn't. There it is. She said it's going to be revealing, positioned right after the prequels, and Lucasfilm are going all out to make prequel fans happy. That's all she'll say. So making prequel fans happy and being positioned right after the prequels does give us a little bit of context, right?
Well, and that ties into what I was saying about the kids being cast in those roles, because like literally Cassian is a child as like Order 66 happens. So I kind of think we're going to see Kid Cassian around that time on his homeworld is my assumption, though.
And we kind of mentioned, and Anthony asked the question, so I'll put it up, but we kind of mentioned about Force users showing up, and I just really don't know. Like Kenobi could absolutely show up. Mm-hmm. Or speaking of Force users, you could have Darth Vader, right? Darth Vader has that famous hallway scene at the end of Rogue One. Mm-hmm. Darth Vader could absolutely be in scope to show up.
For sure. Yeah, like we were talking about one time, you and I were talking, it's like if Cassian's rebellion intelligence, so he's the fact that unlike most characters, this guy it's not shoehorning him in if he's spying on Darth Vader, if he's looking into any of these main characters who we know from the main story. He's the one who makes the most sense compared to other people. Like Kenobi makes almost even less sense to meet Darth Vader or to run into him than Cassian, who they would ostensibly need to know what's the guy in the dark helmet doing right now, because it's important to our goals, and our aims. So
yeah. But what about Anthony asked you, could you see a member of the Jedi Council like Coleman Treber coming into live action in Obi-Wan or anything like that? Might we get other Jedi Council, I think, other than say Yoda, of course, Meg's favorite, Yaddle,
Yaddle. Well, one of the things that happened around the Star Wars Underworld television series time was there was sort of a hold on Voss, on the Adu Jedi, and
Yeah.
that he wanted to include him, and he wanted to do a bunch of stuff with Voss, and wanted to elaborate on that. And he was saved from being killed in Revenge of the Sith. He was blown up on a tank in Order 66. They removed the scenes to like spare the character so that way they could build on him. Now Lucas isn't here making the stuff now, but is there a chance that some of the plans for Voss could be moved into the future of stuff? I kind of think so, but there's been no indications of it.
Oh, you touched on so many things right there in such a short statement.
Mhm.
Because there were several, and I think Josh with the Den of Nerds has talked about it a lot,
Mhm.
that there was some correlation between George Lucas and Andor, that he was on the credits, so to speak, and that he may have had.
I know what that's from. It's from an IMDb entry,
Right.
and it's bunk.
Okay.
I'm not trying to debunk somebody or say whatever. I asked about that, and they laughed.
Okay.
They literally laughed. They're like that guy didn't want to work when he was working on Star Wars. And you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't believe any of that stuff for us. Like, I hope I'm wrong. It would be fantastic to be wrong. But yeah, Lucas has no connection to Andor. And if I'm pretty sure what it is it's his created by, based on
Yes.
characters by
Yes.
listing being put into the wrong section and then being elaborated from there and being turned into a rumor.
Yeah, and that was in the Mandalorian as well,
Mhm.
right? He was given credit, for the series as well, and he wasn't. I mean, he was on set many times, and they consulted with him plenty. But
Yeah.
right, exactly.
And I was told that he gave a name for the Yoda species to Favreau and Filoni in that time, and I thought we were going to see it in season 2, and we didn't. So either they don't like it, or they just don't want to go there, or it's coming next season. I don't know.
Right, they're holding on to it. That's cool. That's really cool. Like, to get the name of the species would be nice.
Yeah.
but
I,
it's,
I imagine it would come if they develop on that cloner stuff any further about why they wanted Grogu
yeah,
and the Palpatine blood. Maybe that's their in for it. Just a guess,
Yeah.
though.
yeah, and where they come from. Right, that's always been a mystery. We don't know where they come from. We don't know the name of the species, and I am of the group that think that's a good thing, that we don't know. Leave
Yeah.
it that way. Right?
Yeah, we don't need to.
Right, right. So Ronnie is saying he don't. I said I don't think they will do the forming of the rebellion, since we kind of already got that in Rebels, and Ronnie, that forming of the rebellion happens over different pieces and parts here and there. Not only is it in, say, Rebels, but the Ahsoka novel and plenty of other written work and comics. Like, that story, as the forming of the rebellion, bridges so many different things. It's sort of like getting. I hear people talk about maybe getting a Vader series. Well, we've had Vader's story told, like. Well, not only that, but yeah, in comics and novels, and like, Vader's story is out there, and I liked Star Wars Theory did a video specifically on it, that we'll continue to see Vader show up in other things, Andor,
Mhm.
perhaps, Kenobi for sure, in other series. So I think it's absolutely possible that we will get that.
Yeah, because like the thematic idea that, like, you make a lot of wrong choices, and then now you have to live with them, but you're not admitting you were wrong, you're not changing your way, and then you're in this pain and suffering, and that's Vader's story. That's the story of Darth Vader in whole, really. And Kenobi can show us that in a very expedited and powerful moment, and then we get it. But if you make that into a whole series, it's just like an emo show of a guy going, "Oh, I want to admit I was wrong. I did the wrong things, and it killed all my friends. And I missed my Padme." And that's just like there's like not really a lot there. And then, but when you get to the only thing I could see them making into a show is like when they find out Luke Skywalker's alive, and then they want to get to it and how they figure out all of the intel on that and where that goes. But I don't know if that's really a show either. You know, I mean, how do you get to the heart of something with him? Unless he gets a girlfriend and, you know, gets a Lambo and has a midlife crisis or something. I don't know how you're going to do it.
Right. Well, Ronnie asked, why are we assuming Andor's a prequel? It might be a sequel. Somehow Andor returned. No, we already do know that it takes place, like when it takes place. So, we don't have the story beats. We don't necessarily know what the story is. Now, they did give us a bit about the genre of the show, right? They talked about it being in the genre of a mystery thriller, right?
Yes.
Was that
spy thriller?
Spy thriller. Yeah, spy thriller. So we have the genre spy thriller, which I'm super excited about. I love the concept of bringing different genres into Star Wars that way. You know, a lot of people have talked about maybe having horror, like a Star Wars show that's based that fits the horror genre. That's a possibility in the future, perhaps. And I think, what was it? The one that Leslie Headland's working on, The Acolyte. The Acolyte is a different genre as well, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's absolutely, we kind of know the time frame, and we know the genre, the spy thriller. And
right.
So that we can kind of get on. Let's see. Get caught up with the comments. It's all Meg. The Yoda species does have an official name. It does, but whether they share it with us or not is another thing, right?
I'm still betting on Minch. I'm betting on Minch. Minch, that was Yoda's original name, and that's what I've stuck to. I bet you it's going to be Minch, but I don't know. I'm just guessing.
That could be the species, or Minch.
He's a Minch.
That sounds like a Jewish slang term.
Kind of. You little Minch.
Right. I don't know. Bothans. You know, that's something we haven't seen. And I was rereading Heir to the Empire and the Bothans' involvement in that series. And of course, at the beginning of A New Hope, right, we get Mon Mothma, many Bothans died, blah, blah, blah. So we haven't really seen a lot of Bothans. So we could get some Bothans involved in there. That would be great.
I do feel like if they, let's just pretend like they had a grand plan, that they went into the future, knew the whole Star Wars story, and then organized it to make total sense. I still feel like Bothans should come in after A New Hope, because they didn't do Rogue One. They weren't there. Their spy network wasn't at play. So it makes me wonder, though, if we could see it kind of getting set up with Cassian, because the Bothan spies are supposed to be like this big thing. That would be a logical connection. So I do buy into that possibility. But at the same time, since they didn't really do anything until Return of the Jedi, I feel like they weren't on board, and then they were persuaded. But
well, and again, like, it'd been so long since I read Heir to the Empire.
Yeah,
I couldn't. I did not remember what jerks the Bothans were. Right? Like, unlikable.
And it doesn't make any sense, because dogs are the best. Dogs are like the coolest things on Earth. They're like, hey, what's up, buddy? Let's eat, hang out. So I kind of think they would be rad, but I guess Chewbacca, maybe Chewbacca took all the dog qualities from the saga away from them.
Oh, that's great. Dominic, Knights of the Old Republic series or movie. So that sort of leads us to a different topic, because and so I'm going to kind of go sideways here just a little bit, because there's been a lot of talk about more non-canon Star Wars. So last night, Star Wars Theory, Nerd Theory, they talked about it. They also
Mhm.
talked about it yesterday on the Chatooine show, Star Wars Only's weekly show,
Mhm.
that Lucasfilm is open to doing more non-canon stories, and it kind of springboards off the Visions piece, right? So they did Visions. Visions is, I think, landed relatively well. But
Mhm.
so there's interest. Might they do more? They're open to doing more, and I think it ties back to that video game remake as well with KOTOR, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of speculation is KOTOR canon, non-canon, likely non-canon. It's just a remake of that, so it was non. It's in Legends now. It would remain in Legends, but they might be open to doing more. And would Knights of the Old Republic series, not just a video game, um, be something that could fit into that kind of thing?
Yeah, my take on that one, like on Knights of the Old Republic, especially now that we have the High Republic, it's like now it's essentially twice removed or whatever from like a New Hope's era, right? So
Right.
I think that that frees it up even more. But with it being a remake and literally calling it a remake, it's like I have so many big questions that I need answers to. Are they doing redesigns? Because if we see like Doug Chang and the Ryan Church types and the Luntz in there working on redesigning all of that stuff and bringing it up to a film level of design, then I think it's going to be canon. I really do. I really don't think that that they're going to throw that in there. But so far they haven't said. Are we just
Right.
getting upscaled graphics? Because like when it's Revan, that character is pretty defined. They've like when they show us him, it's like okay,
Right.
like that doesn't tell us actually anything. We need to see like one of the droids or an environment or something like that. Because if they did do that, I have a hard time imagining that if they wouldn't make it canon, and I also don't see why they wouldn't, because if they're doing their old Republic essentially with the High Republic, and then they do go tell them, it should open that up to because it's not that much really steps on the toes of the older stuff, and you have thousands of years for things to change, right?
Right. Right.
So it's such a weird hurdle.
It is, and I saw a lot of controversy. Well, on especially last night on well the Chatooine show. I was rewatching it this morning,
Yeah.
and really a divide over is continuing the Legends stories. Is that a good move or a bad move? Is it an excuse for Lucasfilm to do things that don't have to be as tightly written? So it may not meet the same kind of quality as if you were trying to tie it into canon, or is it fully fan service? To me, I don't see why they shouldn't go ahead and continue more non-canon stories, much along the lines of Visions or KOTOR. Like leave those as non-canon. Legends label. You could continue some of those stories that have internal continuity but aren't necessarily tied to the content of the canon story. And I think it's a great way for them to market and profit off of those titles, off of those characters, on those stories. So for me, it's a win-win, but I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I just think that they should just simply be pragmatic about things. If they have a really great pitch for a story idea that's like, oh, how the Sith were formed, but they're like, we don't really want to lock ourselves into this concept, but let's see how it goes. Then do it. Say it's not canon, or it's this side thing. It's like how they did with Visions,
Right.
and then what takes and what works, keep it and move on from there. I do think that it is important that they have a very healthy, thriving, living canon. And as we've seen, whenever you separate things, though, and you do have two things, then you end up sort of creating like sports team division mentality.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Legends guy. Oh, the Legends you're true. I don't like the movies now. And it's like, you know what? How
Right.
about a lot of the Legends were utter trash, and some of them were really fun. So
Yeah.
how about we just, be real about stuff and what's good. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But like I'm hoping that visions, like there were concepts and visions that it would be great to see moved into the actual canon saga, if you will, like the
Yeah.
lightsaber color stuff in
Right.
certain moments. Like that stuff would be interesting to finally like explore, but also you don't really want to hinder visual design on a rule. But
Right,
I get it.
right. So my daughter asked because she knows I'm a big scaredy cat. I
Mm-hmm.
do not enjoy horror genre at all, like zero. So,
Okay.
Mrs. Claus once talked me into watching. She said, "Oh, it's just sci-fi," and I'm like, "Oh shoot, what was the name of that movie?" Uh, Kayla will tell me. But
Mhm.
what's that? Poltergeist. That's right,
Oh, Poltergeist
Poltergeist.
is great. That's Star
Right?
Wars toys everywhere, flying
No.
around.
Right. But
Hmm.
so she said, it's just like sci-fi. It's like all that stuff you like. And I did not enjoy it. It was horror. It's a horror movie. And
Hmm.
and so now they're trying to get me to watch the Aliens movies, and I'm like, no, Alien was scary. It scared me when I was a kid. I
Hmm.
did not enjoy that. But they're like, oh no, it's science fiction. It's fun. I'm like, don't know. So she asked the question, if they did release a Star Wars horror film or series, would I watch it? Oh, I don't know. Depends how depends how well they do it, I suppose.
I mean, when we look at Disney itself, has have Disney really delved into horror at all? I mean, like when you look at, off the top of my head, we have like haunted mansion movies, maybe,
Right,
and
right.
and Marvel could do it, and Marvel hasn't done it. So that makes me think that if they won't do it. But at the same time, like when you have the like Sith and Sith temples and stuff like that, the go-to is always the zombie one. That's the one everybody is, oh yeah, a zombie virus and that kind of thing. But when you have Sith temples and stuff like that, you could do some pretty weird ghost stories and things too if they wanted to.
So Meg, I've been watching this in the chat. Meg brought up that the name of the species name is Grogu, and then in the chat she kind of expanded on this, that through the PTSD, through those dark years of Grogu's memory when it was dark, and they were referring to the Grogu over there
Mm-hmm.
being the species, right? Like the human, the Bothan, the Grogu that's over there, that he attached that as his name
Hmm.
rather than it being the species name. So there's this thread out there, and been reading it in the chat, where Meg's saying that the name of the species, Yoda's species, is Grogu. And Grogu's name was actually something else, but now he's attached it to the species name since they.
So I say we flip everything on its head now. No more Baby Yoda. We start calling Yoda Old Grogu.
Old Grogu.
Old
He's that
Grogu.
old Grogu. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, flip it on its head. It's
Just
old Grogu. I love it. That's perfect. That's perfect. Let's see if I can get caught up on the chat. Let's see. I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Mark, there's a Black Series figure coming with Grogu named on the box, right? But that's supposedly the name of the character, not the species. Uh, Terrifying Tales Watch Party with Santa. Well, that's my kind of horror. I could
Mhm.
deal with the Marvel zombie episode. I can deal with Lego Terrifying Tales. I
Sure.
can all that's right down Santa's lane. It's if they decide to go full blooded horror, that it could lose me. uh,
Yeah.
why don't they make Legends actual Legends in canon, like everything after 6 in Legends? Kind of like how Ray didn't know Luke was real and thought it was a myth. Um, you mean like there is a series of books that are legends-ish type material that's in universe. It's oh shoot, what's the name of those? where like Luke Skywalker is doing ridiculous number of things. You've got like micro-sized species that are taking control of people, all kinds of stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, it's almost a what if kind. Well, they're just telling bedside stories, right? And they're telling these stories of things that they've heard. So there is a series like that. All right. So they could do something like that. I think that's what Ronnie's saying is make the stories in universe stories.
Yeah, I think me and you might have talked about it before. We were like, yeah, what if they just did like a what if show with some people at a campfire and then they tell the story, or old like old Indiana Jones was, I think, our example from
Right.
the Indiana Jones Chronicles, who tells the story, like, kind of do that, and they just heard it wrong, or they fake news. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Over under 50% that Mace shows up in one of the live. Right? It says you have to give me a percentage, not over under like Santa did when he asked the question. So he wants an actual percentage. So he's not asking over under. He's asking what's your percentage that Mace shows up in Obi-Wan or Andor.
Oh man, that's a difficult one. I'm really going to say, and this is just like a self-serving, if I pretend like I am the only thing that matters in the world, and I'm going to say 20%.
I, I,
Just
and Anthony, I'll give you a number on those two series specifically that they would show up in the Andor series or the Kenobi series. Zero. There.
zero. Yeah. Yeah, because Samuel L. Jackson showing up, I mean, he could show up and they could keep it a secret, but he's a bit harder than Mark Hamill. It's like Mark Hamill could still go and hit up a burger place. I don't think
Right.
is as easy as Samuel L. Jackson, who's just so recognizable.
Right. Yeah, I will not be watching the Chuck TV show. There are lots of TV shows that I flat out won't watch. There are commercials I won't watch because they scare me too much. Look, I'm a chicken. I don't like
Yeah.
them. So I saw X-wing. So this is the other half of it. What's the chances of getting a live action Mace Windu in a show? I think 100%. So 0% on those two, but 100% will get a live action Mace Windu, in my
So
opinion.
if they were to do that, do they have to give Mace like a secret side quest? Like he gets thrown out the building, he's really jacked up, he has to survive and just kind of get back on his feet. And then he goes into like a contingency plan of his own outside of Yoda and Obi-Wan to save the Jedi and make that into a thing that goes far out. Or do they just, because like it's one of those stories where like when we have everybody who is beaten down, I'm Darth Vader, I'm beaten down, I'm Boba Fett, got out of the Sarlacc. Like when you think about what the stories are supposed to be before you know what they are, they always sound like a boring bummer. And that's the only thing about Mace Windu. So like I think they'd have to give him like a really cool plan, like a really cool like side thing of how I'm going to kick Darth Vader's butt in the big picture.
Well, right. He needs to have some compelling storyline, not just alive to be alive. And let's say that he shows up in the Book of Boba Fett, which I think there's a very high percentage of, like way above 50%.
Mm-hmm.
If Samuel L. Jackson's reprising Mace Windu in live action, the age fits, everything fits to put him in the Book of Boba Fett. Where has he been? Like since he got yeeted out the window in the prequels, where was he during the original trilogy era? What's he
Right.
been doing? What's he up to? You know, and Meg saying, didn't Ming-Na Wen basically confirm Mace in Boba Fett? And X-Wing did a story on it on his channel, like
Mm-hmm.
back when it came out, and he caught a lot of flack for it. But I think that there's, depending how you kind of interpret what Ming-Na Wen said, she may have spilled the beans.
Yeah, I never heard the actual like firsthand quote on that, so I never got to like really like I didn't really dig into it. But I was like, is it just going to be that? Are they just going to show his dad getting killed and that's it? Because
Well,
that's not really the same as I think like Attack of the Clones era Mace and living Mace post Order 66. They're just so two different things to me.
and I saw Nikki giving me a hard time because I don't know if she was meaning to give me a specific hard time about it, but she was saying like if you have trouble watching Chucky and you're an adult, we need to have a talk. What? Look, I don't. That's me. Ain't for me. So and there's hilarious stories about me when I was a kid, right? Like
Mhm.
I was growing up as a preteen, and so way older than I should have been, but still as a preteen, watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop motion animated show.
I still watch it.
Right when the Bumble first comes out over the mountaintop and he scares them, I
Hmm.
would hide. I would hide. Like it scared me. Like
Yeah.
like for real scared me.
Just like
And
that. You don't like that. Like, you don't like that, like, tension, right? That
no,
tension feeling that comes, and you're just like, don't want that.
I don't want that. I don't like
Yeah.
jump scares. Jump scares are terrible.
Mhm.
I hate them. So
Yeah.
that's it's tough.
But what if they made Jawas play? Little Java running around with a little knife going around? No? Okay.
Oh, that's
Nikki would watch it. Uh,
oh my goodness. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Mark thinks that X-Wing got it right. That it was a reveal. It's basically, if anybody hasn't seen that, Ming-Na Wen was talking about crossovering. That she's
mhm.
played a character in Disney. She's played a lead in Disney, a lead in Marvel, and a lead in Star Wars. Or a main character, I should say, not a lead. So
Mhm.
she's played a main character across all three of those, and that there are only a handful of people who have done it. And she talks about seeing Samuel L. Jackson on set in the same sort of breath. And so, was she talking about seeing him in Agents of Shield? Was she talking about seeing him in the Book of Boba Fett?
Hmm. Okay.
And so, um, it was sort of just the line that is like you could directly connect it to the Book of Boba Fett, because in that interview that's sort of what they were talking about. But she also touched base on the Marvel, so was there is some question over what she was
Hmm.
talking about it on the Marvel set.
Yeah, that's really open though. I want it to be true though. I want that to be the case.
Oh, Meg, you put things in there I can't click on. Um,
I don't have the chat
oh my
open,
god.
so I'm just imagining what it is.
Yeah, you could. You can imagine, and you're probably right. Uh, knowing Meg, Meg is feeling better. Meg, I'm so happy that you're
Nice.
getting in a better place. So, your video today, you sounded great. So, uh, they made a. What if they made a Hoth horror movie? Would you watch it? Maybe not. I hate to say it. Maybe not. I could tell you one thing: a horror novel. I ain't into that. I'm not reading it.
Yeah.
Flat out, not doing it.
In a like in a strange way though, like with Star Wars, you kind of have like it's always this amalgamation of genre. But one of the things that is it's hard to imagine really clicking is like the swashbuckling aspects of it. Yeah, you can swashbuckle over zombies, but that little leitmotif music playing over that, it just those things don't go. I do see it as probably being pretty challenging to get right if they
Yeah.
wanted to do it.
X-Wing, I want to ask if you would put a link to your video, either DM it to me where you were the one where you talked about did Ming Na Wen spill the beans. If you would put a link to that either on my Discord or DM it to me, I'll put it in the Discord and I'll tag everyone so that if you've not seen X-Wing's video, he deserves the credit for it. Like he
Yeah.
jumped in there right off the bat, and I think I would like to highlight that for you, X-Wing. So if you would do that, that'd be great. Um, so I wanted to share some uh, here. We talked about a lot during the book during the Bad Batch these episode guides. Well, StarWars.com has released the episode guides to all of the Visions episodes. And so in these, you get the description, the gallery of photos, those kind of things. And I thought this would be a really good point to just touch base. And Jason, I haven't got to talk to you. I saw your videos, but your favorite and least, I'll give you your favorite two or three, your least favorite two or three episodes of Visions.
Yeah, the Ninth Jedi, the Duel. Those are probably my favorite. And don't hate me, but I wanted it to be Tatooine Rhapsody. It ended up not being. It was too cliched, and the music wasn't defined enough. It just had music playing, and to me that's kind of a weak rock opera. But what's the very final episode?
The last one is Akakiri.
That one, I just cannot pay attention to it. I don't
I
know why. I've watched it twice, and I just feel like I don't get it yet, and I can't focus on it.
I was struggling by here just because I think I binged too much right in a row, but it does
Right.
have an interesting ending of him sacrificing for his sister.
Yeah, yeah, and that was a nice idea, but yeah, that's the one I just liked the least. I just felt like it wasn't flowing, it just didn't go together. And yeah, and I thought about the release of the show, and number one, I'm glad we got it all at once, because if you can handle it, rad. And I'm glad we didn't get it weekly, but I would have rather this have been daily. Like,
Yeah, I heard them mention might have been good as like a Saturday morning series, like
mhm,
back in the day. We got these Saturday morning cartoons. That might
yeah,
have been cool. This one
and
here is the one that I despise to my very core. To my very core,
so
despise.
even after watching it, he didn't win you over, huh?
No, I was hoping that there maybe my prejudice would be overridden by the story. That it would be such a great story that I would be won over. But it went the other way. I couldn't hate it more. like, oh my goodness! And it was funny during it. The bad guy that comes up in here
Mhm.
reminded me. Let's see if I can
Oh,
find.
those by the way looked super cheap. Those little, like, the episode title cards.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, why did they skimp on that? It looks like it was done by an intern in After Effects in 2 minutes, but it was really weird.
This guy here reminded me of the Black Knight from Monty Python's Holy Grail.
I,
So,
I I find you so fascinating right now, because it's like you are such a middle of the road dude. Like, you're like, something scary, no. Something too cute, no. Like,
it was
yeah.
terrible. Right. It is a little odd. It's just that I don't know. The sound, like the audio in it was a little weird to me. And the animation was odd. It was like echoey, almost like an empty chamber. I didn't like it. Didn't
I
like it.
actually like the little synthesizer that they used in some of the music. I was never a big fan from the 80s when they would use synthesizers for, like, robots and stuff and
Yeah.
that kind of jazz. But then Star Wars came along, and everybody's like, "Oh no, classical music. Oh, that's how you do everything." And now I'm like, "Hey, give me some of that synth back." Not Holiday Special. That was grating, but
So for me, I think
ooh,
I
yeah.
basically agree with you. I think that my favorite episodes were definitely the Duel and the Ninth Jedi. Throw in the Elder. I did like that one well. And then
And Lo
there's
Ocho, I liked it a lot too.
yeah,
I did.
I thought that was a pretty good episode. Really, it exceeded my expectations. And one thing here is that some of the animation and this episode was great. It was
Hmm.
really good. And the story itself about how uh, uh, the heirloom went to the one that was more of the family member than the one who was by blood, right?
Yeah.
It was really good. I enjoyed that. My least favorite, of course, TOB one. I despised it. no more of it. But
I found him to be a good breather. Like it was just like it was so lighthearted, you know. But let me ask you this, Santa. On Lopen Ocho,
yeah.
was it a mistake to not to not have made the saber a green hilt with an orange blade, so it was like a big carrot? Because that's what I wanted. I was like, come on, be a big carrot, and then it wasn't. Because she has like a little like hairpin that's a little carrot. I don't know if you noticed that. And I
Oh
was like,
no,
come
I
on.
didn't.
Yeah.
That's great. That's hilarious. Definitely a missed opportunity. That could have definitely a missed opportunity. I think that we could absolutely see the elder. Well, I don't know about the elder as much, but we could see the duel and the Ninth Jedi taken out into a full blown series for both of them to continue those stories about the guy going town to town cleaning up the mess, or in the case of the Ninth Jedi, her dad being captured, and them going to rescue her, and all the issues about reestablishing a Jedi order and that kind of thing. I think both of those could definitely be made into series.
Yeah, I keep hoping that as we someday move forward into the episode 10, 11, 12 territory, and we start to see where that goes, what happens, I hope some of this stuff does end up coming into it and influencing it. You know what I mean? Like I really do think that it, as ridiculous as it sounds, I think Neil Scanlon could rock a Lope costume. I really do. I really do think that she could be, if done right, could be really cool looking. It could also be like Chuck E. Cheese if it was done poorly. But
yeah, it can very easily be that. And I do think you will see now Lop in cosplay forever. She's been immortalized just because that's the nature of cosplay. You know.
Sure. Yeah. If I was cosplaying as a female and I wanted to be like in a full costume, that's a good one. I mean, I couldn't pull it off with this body, but you know what I'm saying.
What did the robot boy ever do to me, Ronnie? I don't know. It's so.
But they were like he and all the robots were marching in order, and I was like, oh, you guys are so nice.
Yeah, there was Mark's. Yeah, she's going to be played to death at Celebration. She's going to show up everywhere.
I think to much to your detriment, I think we're going to see a lot of Toby. I think that's going to be a popular one. I already have a friend who's making a costume for him. Yeah, it's going to be a thing.
Oh no! And I could just see my friends here finding me at such an event and making me take a picture with them. No. Look, I enjoyed Visions. I'm up for more non-canon content in Star Wars, and I'm looking forward to it. So we've got, just kind of wrap up the show for today. We've got the Book of Boba Fett coming at the end of the year, followed by Kenobi and Andor. Of the three, which is the one you're most excited for?
I'm actually most excited for Andor.
Really?
Yeah, Andor's the one where I feel like it's going to develop Star Wars as opposed to fill in Star Wars. Boba and Kenobi answer questions of what were they doing, whereas Andor has a story. I hope, and I'm assuming, that is going to grow the depth of it and make it wider, like how Rogue One. I mean, before Rogue One, your conceptualization of the Rebel Alliance was, I think, a lot different than once you saw Rogue One.
Yeah.
Then you actually, even with Star Wars Rebels having been a thing, like it literally changes exactly how that landscape is. And so if they continue that and it goes further with a character who we honestly don't know that much about, other than the fact that he dies. and everybody dies. So that's not really a big spoiler of life, is it? And there's a lot of story that can be that can be told there. So that's yeah. I have the most hope for that one, but I also think Kenobi's going to be the biggest one.
Kenobi, I think. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be the biggest, and it definitely, I think, have the most hype. For me
Hmm.
personally, it's all about Cad Bane. It's all about
Hmm.
Cad Bane. So I am super excited for the Book of Boba Fett,
Hmm.
and to see that live action Cad Bane come in.
Yeah.
You throw Cad Bane into either of the other two, and my hype goes up instantly. So uh,
Yeah.
I really, really, and of course, Cad Bane could show up in either of the other two, which would be super cool.
Yeah,
Um,
Cad's the character who is just evil, but so fits in all of it. And he has
he,
connections to Kenobi. He could be hired through the Cassian network, and Boba, obviously, that's the obvious one. And yeah, there's so much to do with that dude. Like he's the best.
yes,
I think he might be outside of Ahsoka, the next character that was from the Clone Wars that just was like, yeah, where were you all my life, dude?
right,
You know?
right. I absolutely love Cad Bane and the Western feel of him, right? Like the gunslinger aspect that we really saw in the Bad Batch as well. Like,
Hmm.
holy cow, that guy deserves to be in the Mandalorian in that Mandoverse, and
Hmm.
because it just fits so perfectly. Um,
He's
I,
a
I'm
Star Wars Lee Van Cleef. I mean, if we're doing, you know what I mean? If we're doing good, bad, and the ugly, or any spaghetti western stuff, he's our guy. He's our
so,
bad guy.
it absolutely is.
Yeah.
And as far as just a really cool bad guy, I think he's the coolest bad guy there is. And for me, he supersedes Boba Fett for me as far as a villain goes.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people prefer Boba Fett, but I'm rooting for our gunslinger. I'm rooting for Cad Bane. So the Book of Boba Fett is the top on my most anticipated of those three. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Jason, thank you so much for coming on. I know it was very last second, but I always enjoy, and I thought this was perfect with the Andor filming thing to get you on to talk about it.
Thank
I
you.
had a
I
great
always love
time.
hanging out with you. It's always a great time.
It's so much fun. It is so much fun, and let me know when I can pop on and visit with you guys. I'd be happy to come and visit again.
Yes. Can't wait.
Okay. Well, you all, thank you all for being here. I've had a lot of fun today, and we will catch you next time. Until then, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the force be with you always. Bye bye.